I'm going to bring back an old school clip that I think a lot of you probably remember. And this is something that is going to be used against Vice President Harris, and it's going to stick. Here we go.
Congresswoman Gabbard, you took issue with Senator Harris confronting Vice President Biden at the last debate. You called it a, quote, false accusation that Joe Biden is a racist. What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congressman.
Now, I know that there are people on social media who have been claiming that, well, you got to play the whole clip. You know, you cannot, you got to allow, Vice President Harris to be able to, make her statement. What is she, how is she going to respond? Well, here's how she responded.
Senator Harris, your response.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about reentering former offenders and getting them counseling. It is why, and because I know that criminal justice system is so broken, that I am an advocate for what we need to do to not only decriminalize, but legalize marijuana in the United States.
I want to bring
So the problem here, of course, is obviously that's not a good answer. Very specific points were noted, and even though it's kind of weak sauce in some ways, but you could debate whether it'll actually have a lot of teeth. Trump has really leaned in very hard and did lean in very hard regarding criminal justice reform, and that was something that he accomplished as president. There is well-documented information out there regarding what Vice President Harris did as the Attorney General of California, that she exploited prison labor in the worst kinds of ways, and that she was very politically ambitious, and that she ended up hurting a lot of people. I believe Tulsi may have made mention of that at the end of this statement. And yes, look, we all know Tulsi Gabbard is for Tulsi Gabbard, just like so many other politicians. She's in it for herself, but she saw an opportunity and she took it. And in many ways, this is the moment that kind of knocked Kamala out of the presidential race. Kamala was polling pretty well for a while. Everyone's like, well, she didn't even make it to, Iowa. And the fact of the matter is, the reason she didn't make it to Iowa is because after this moment, her entire campaign collapsed. And it's pretty damning. And this is the type of thing that Trump is going to seize on and he's going to talk about. And it's going to have teeth. So while she's going to have an opportunity to go after Trump on a number of things, especially as it pertains to women's reproductive freedom and Project 2025, which of course is, they're going to try to bleed that for all it's worth. But there is no question that this is a very big issue, and it's never been properly addressed.
Congresswoman Gabbard, back in, your response.
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Well, I can't disagree. And even though, obviously, as I mentioned, Tulsi's gone down her path, which I vehemently disagree with. When somebody's right, they're right. Granted, it's for political gamesmanship, and a lot of people do it. But this is going to be an issue, and we'll see how they handle it. Ultimately, this is what happens when you don't conduct a presidential primary, and the Democrats have not legitimately conducted one, I think, since 2008. That's really the last time that there really was one. It's been a long time, because we know that the 2016 Democratic primary was not on the level. In 2020, clearly, once it was established that Bernie was the favorite to win, they did everything in their capacity to kneecap him and make sure that he didn't win, which they were able to do. They had Buttigieg, they had Klobuchar, and they had O'Rourke drop out of the race and endorse Joe and keep Elizabeth Warren in the race at the same time once it became established that he wasn't able to get the win. Then it's the little things that the Democrats did in 20 that don't get talked about as much today as probably should. That, of course, is allowing the two billionaires into the race, Michael Bloomberg and Howard Schultz, respectively, or not respectively, but nevertheless, played a significant role. And of course, they went after Bernie Sanders like it was nobody's business. And even then, was still in a pretty good position to win. But it takes a lot. The exposure of the Democratic Party is pretty clear. We're trying to obviously change that. One candidate getting elected isn't going to change it, but it can move the needle in the right direction. And I kind of feel that the significance of somebody like Jen replacing somebody like Wasserman Schultz is significantly bigger than just any congressional swap, and especially in the same party.